Hello, my name is Sophia Husbands and I am your tutor who is going to be teaching you Law of Contract. The purpose of this session is to introduce you to Law of Contract, and I'm going to be talking about reasons why you may be studying Law of Contract and give you some examples of what will happen when you're studying Law of Contract. And then I'm going to finish off by giving an overview of what is going to be covered in this Law of Contract course. So why do you study contract law? So for some of you who may decided to sign up to this course, you might be an undergraduate student studying law at university. And for a lot of law degrees, especially qualifying law degrees, you have to study law of obligations, and law of contract happens to be one of them. And then you may be a person who's currently studying for a professional qualification in the fields of accounting or business, and you may have to study contract law. Or you may simply be a person who wants to find out more about law contracts because you see the impact that it has in your everyday life. You may even be a business owner of a business wanting to understand it. So the question is, what is a contract? A contract is a legally binding agreement between two parties. So one party is agreeing to do something and the other party is agreeing to do something. And normally it is an exchange. And you'll learn from this course about what an exchange is. And what is a contract? To continue, contracts are formed on a daily basis, as I said. So for some of you, you may be commuters who take public transport to work every day. And when you board in a train, you're actually entering into a contract. Or to go some steps backwards, actually, you entered into contract as soon as you went and purchased your ticket, saying that I'm paying for my fare between here to there, and the travel company's meant to take you to that destination. Or for some of you, you may have a smartphone or Android phone or any type of different types of mobile phone or cellular phone if you're from America. They call it mobile. and you're entered into a contract when you purchase that mobile phone. You might have had a contract whereby you have to pay a fee of £35 a month for the line rental, and then you would have had a package. So you see, you have law and contract in all everyday life as well as business. And a contract can be formed in a domestic capacity as well as a business one. So you may be thinking, what is a domestic capacity? So you could be in a relationship between a husband and wife. You might be thinking that marriage was a law of contract, but yes, there are some domestic contracts which take place between relatives, even friends too. But you find out more about this when I talk about capacity to enter into a contract. Is it legally binding? When I'm talking about intentions of relations. Okay. And then why do you need to have a contract? So as I opened with, a contract's agreement, and it's good to have clarity in agreement so you know what you need to do. The other party knows what they need to do too. And it's also good in terms of a situation where there is a disagreement, because if you had a contract, especially a written one, you have terms written down in terms of this is how the contract was meant to be, this is what happens in event of something happening. So see, goes back to the first point of providing clarity. And then also, you could be entitled to compensation if things go wrong. And things do not always go according to plan. People could sometimes break agreements, or sometimes they do not fulfill their ends. So it's nice to know that you could be protected by the law or get some sort of compensation, which we'll be looking at in terms of when we're looking at the unit of remedies of a contract. And now I'm going to go through the course content, an overview of what's going to be covered. So the first part is going to be looking at the ingredients of a contract. So for a contract as this, certain criteria needs to be there. And we're going to be looking at what an offer is. And I'm also going to be looking at an offer in difference to an invitation to treat. If you don't know what an invitation to treat is, it's not necessarily I'm going to give you something like a sweetie or something, or maybe to do something else necessarily, or you might say that when you go through with that unit. And then you have consideration, whereby you need to give something in exchange for something else. So people generally do not do something for nothing, as I say when I'm teaching consideration. And we're going to look at intention to create legal relations, which I touched upon just now when I was talking about domestic and commercial agreements. Okay, and then number 2, you're going to look at the factors that affect the formation of a contract. So you've got form, capacity. So in capacity, you might be looking at can a person enter into an agreement, a contract? Can a 3-year-old enter into agreement, for example? So you'd be looking at things like that. You also be looking at the person's state of mind. If they were drunk, could the law impose them to be bound by an agreement? And the answer is no, but you're going to learn more about these type of examples. And then you have third party and privity of a contract. So maybe in your mind you could be thinking of who is privy to this contract, who could make this person, the other party, be bound by the contract. So that's going to be in section 2. Third section is the contents of a contract. So what goes into a contract? You normally have terms, you have clauses, and I will be looking at things to do with like representation, in terms of when you might be in a store and the salesman might be telling you something about a product, and you're probably thinking, was this forming part of the contract feature which he talked about, like this being the fastest car which you could get, or the most latest edition of the iPhone, if you're talking about an Apple product, for example. And then we're going to be looking at exclusion clauses, because some people like to put exclusion clauses in contract, whereby I'm not going to be liable. And you might see this in every day when you drive into car parks, exclusion clauses. And number 4, we're going to be looking at issues that may arise of contracts, whether or not it can be void or voidable contracts. So in other words, could a contract not exist anymore because of a reason? And you've got misrepresentation, and for some of you who go shopping very often or been to large supermarkets, not to say anything disparagingly about a supermarket, you might see something put up at a certain price, and then when you go to the checkout, it might be a different price. So you might have issues to do with misrepresentation there. And then you have mistake, and then you have things like to do with duress and illegality. So in other words, a contract might not be valid, or it might be illegal. You might not be able to have that type of contract. And then section 5 is discharge of a contract. And to give you a little teaser what a discharge of a contract is, it's linked to when a contract has been completed. And so I may have answered a question, which I said, what does a discharge mean? And the forms of discharge that may arise. So you've got different ways of how a contract could be discharged. And then in a final section of the course, we're going to be looking at remedies. And I touched upon early on, just now, about how sometimes things might not go according to plan, there might be disagreements of contract, and remedies will be looking at things to do with compensating a person whereby another person has breached a contract. So overall, these are the units which are going to be covered in the course. And I hope you enjoy studying Miss Law Tutor. And what's great about this course is that not that you only get the slides, you're also going to be given exercises during the course to do, so you could work through them at your own pace and leisure, understand and reinforce the points which are made. And what's great for you people who are also sitting exams is that I'm going to be using actual exam style type of questions which has been asked in exams, so you get a feeling of what type of questions which could arise, in your law contract exam. So be all prepared. And for business owners or other people who are interested in the course, there'll be lots of everyday style type of examples, so you can relate it to your everyday life transactions. And I hope you enjoy this brief introduction or welcome to the course, Law Contract. And I hope you enjoy the course and find it very benefiting.